a couple minutes. We have Dave, Tyler, Nick, Nicholas, Tony, David, Ricardo, Eddie, Milana. So our chat seems to be working, which is good. So let's get started. Hey, Tony, how are you? So we got Tony from Spain, we got Morgan from here, Vancouver, Milana from Montenegro. Who else do we got? I see we got 11 people now in the chat room. In the room, we got 47 people registered. So don't be shy and use the chat box and let us know. We got Eddie, Admiral Yacht Sale from St. Augustine, Florida. Excellent. Who else we got? Who else we got? Ricardo, David, Tony, Nicholas, Nick, Tyler, Dave. Let us know in the chat. Ricardo from Fort Lauderdale. Excellent. So it's noon Eastern time. Without further ado, let's get started for today's webinar. So this is Vincent. I'm so excited you're here. Today we're going to learn the 3-step system I use to double my boat sales and listings without being pushy, talking to more people, or spending a fortune on that. Don't be shy. Let us know if you can hear and see me properly. Let me know in the chat and let's get started. Now, a couple of things. I'm super excited to be giving this presentation to you all. I've been doing this now for almost 10 years. And now this is my opportunity to distill some amazing knowledge for you. Now, with that being said, I need you to do something for me. I know there can be a lot of distractions out there with people like me who are sending email, Facebook message, Twitter, or stuff like that. So I need to ask you, turn off your cell phone. At the very least, put it on airplane mode. Turn off Skype, close out Facebook, because not being focused will ruin your chances for success if you let it. I'm going to be giving you my full attention. So it's important that we have that mutual agreement. Sounds good? Cool. Now, to reward you for staying, I'm going to do something really special for you. You will get my 4 best sales hack to sell more boats in 2018. Plus, I'm going to give you all the slides also. Why? So you can go back and review what we've learned today. If we don't review material we've learned, guess what happens? Research shows that half of what we're learning today will be gone by the next day. That means that you're going to wake up tomorrow and you will only remember half of what we talked and learned today. That means that you will only sell half as many boats as you could have. So hang tight with us. It will be worth it. So are you good with that? Let me know in the chat. I want to see you engaged this morning in the chat. This webinar is not about me. I already know this information. I'm doing that for you. And I want you guys to be engaged. Okay? So the information you will learn today is extremely powerful. And some people might start bragging about it, how many boats they're selling. And that's not very fun for those of us who aren't doing that well. In fact, it's pretty difficult when we're watching so many other people have success. So I need you to make a promise. I need you to promise that you won't show off after you close more deals, that you won't be cocky. Let me know in the chat if you promise. So let me know. We got Milana, Eddie, Ricardo, David, Tony, Nicholas, Nick, Tyler, Dave, Morgan. And I see we got some more people coming. Let me know. Now, because once you learn these secrets, life will change for you. You will have the knowledge to close more deals than any other of your competitors. So promise no bragging, okay? We're getting some promises. Awesome. Now, I'm partially kidding with you. However, at the same time, you will have all the tools you need. You will close more deals and increase your boat sales this year by using the 3 secrets. So are you cool with that? Excellent. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was first getting started, my goal was not to sell tons of boats. In fact, I just wanted enough to cover some bills. I wanted to have a lifestyle where I could spend time with my wife. The problem was that I was not selling enough when I first got started. I felt like a failure, but I realized that it wasn't my fault. Why? Because there was just so much information out there and it was really confusing. I didn't know if I could be successful in selling boats. But then I found that I just needed the right person. I needed a coach, a mentor, a friend. I needed someone who could hold my hand along the way. So I started reading books and studying what all the sales gurus were teaching. Now, how many of you have heard that you need to always be closing, on that you need to assume the sale, for instance? How many of you have heard things like that? Yeah, me too. And the big traditional sales gurus were telling me that it was a numbers game, but I couldn't see the numbers on my bank account. The reason was no matter how much I tried it, I always felt uncomfortable. I never really got anywhere. And more deals kept filling through. So I felt kind of stuck. So I knew I needed a different way. And there were people who were making millions of dollars in sales. Like one of my mentors made over 3 million in personal commission. His best year in sales, he sold 119 million. Can you imagine that? So if you make 300 million per year, it'll be like 300K per month. How cool would that be? So I looked up to him so much. I wanted to know what he was doing. So here's what I did. I paid him $35,000 a year to share his secrets with me. Yes, you heard it right. $35,000 to meet with him 3 weekends in 1 year. And so at first I thought that I'm like, why is he making so much money? Either he must be lying or maybe be super pushy or super smooth, like a Wolf of Wall Street or something like that. I mean, you cannot make 300K a month without doing something different than anybody else, right? And you know what? The guy was a total introvert. He was doing something different, vastly different. That was my turnaround point. He helped me to discover what I like to call dialogue communication. And what I learned from him made all the difference in the world for me. And that's what I want to share with you today. So, how many of you are currently in sales or boat sales right now? Let me know in the chat. How many of you are in the marine sales or boat sales? Let me know in the chat. Guys, make sure to use the chat. As I said, this webinar is for you, and I really want to get the best benefit. Excellent. So how many of you are just getting your feet wet or still considering a career as a sales professional? Come over to the chat box and let me know if you're considering a career as a sales professional. So sometimes it's actually better if you're just considering it because you don't have all of those old misconceptions. You can get started right away and have it a lot easier right out of the gate so you can have success in the shortest period of time. So to recap, if you're already in boat sales, I'm going to show you how you can scale it through a dialogue communication process. If you're still considering a career as a boat sales professional, I'm going to show you how to get started. Does that sound good to you? So I see we got now 20 people in the room. We got Milana, Eddie, Ricardo, David, Tony, Nicholas, Nick, Marta, Tyler, Dave, Morgan, Adam, Todd, Len. Does that sound good to you? So here is my goal for this webinar, is to show you that the only and fastest way for you to skyrocket your sales, especially in the marine industry, is through dialogue communication. And that the only way to truly unlock the power of this revolutionary sales method is through Yacht Sales Academy. Why? That's exactly what you will discover in this webinar, and because we have adapted this powerful sales method to your industry and to your product. And that's my main goal for this presentation. So in other words, if you get nothing else from this webinar, but you get this, I promise you that we're going to be successful. Is everyone good with that? Excellent. Now, before getting started, I want to share with you a couple of things that I love about our industry. One thing I love about what I do is to get and to meet amazing people. I have to say that my favorite is meeting friends and students at shows. and mentors also. You know that sense of community that you feel when you find a group of people who believe like you do. Now, without the people, this industry will not be there. So I want to acknowledge you guys for showing up. I want to acknowledge everyone in the industry and also all the clients, all the people buying boats that allowed us to work in a dream industry. Now, the other things that I love about is the amazing feeling that you get when you sell something. You know, when I sold my first $1 million yacht, for instance, some of you can relate to the feeling after you make that big sales, that first sales, right? Isn't it so cool? Now, do you know what is even better feeling than selling a big yacht or big service or product for the first time? It's knowing that you can do it over and over and over again. And when I realized that I knew my mission was to teach others how to sell using the exact same methods that I learned, it was through this process that I call dialogue communication that I want to share with you today. Now, just so we are on the same page, dialogue communication is a way that sales will be done for everyone, I believe, in the next 3 to 5 years. It's literally the future of sales and communication in general. About 5 to 7 years ago, the big thing was getting your pitch down perfectly and closing hard. So, you know, people will, and some people even still think that this is relevant today. But that belief system of perfecting your pitch and closing hard are kind of like what flip phone used to be. You know, things have started to evolve now and everyone has a smartphone, right? So for me, I still can't understand how I got along without a smartphone. Now, that's how dialogue communication is. It's a smartphone of our era. Does that make sense? But I didn't always know that. And there was a time where I didn't know anything about dialogue communication. And so I remember one dreary night speaking with my father-in-law who asked, "So how is boat sales doing? How are you making any money?" And I knew I needed to tell him the truth. So my heart started racing, my palms started to sweat, and I had this heavy pit in my stomach. And the words barely came out of my mouth, but I finally said it. No, I'm not. I finally admitted it. Those words escaped my lips, and I'll never forget the sad look on his face, like looking back at his failed son-in-law who was trying to take care of his daughter. And I wanted to get away and never have to admit something like that ever again. I just wanted to be a great boat broker, to make a good living and create a secure and fulfilling life for myself and my family. But you know what was even more important? I needed to be the provider so that my wife and her family would respect me. I needed validation that I was doing something right and that I could actually take care of them. Now, what you have to understand is that a few years earlier, I had immigrated from France to Canada. And I had started working in a boat equipment store and then eventually in a small boat as a small broker in a brokerage firm in very humble circumstances. And I worked hard, but deals will fall through because I couldn't speak English properly. Now imagine for a moment trying to sell something to someone when you have a very thick accent and they cannot understand you. I hated having to repeat myself multiple times through the conversation because literally they couldn't understand what I was saying. So I knew I needed to speak well if I was going to sell, but I didn't know how I could do it. And I'll never forget hanging up the phone one day after another lost deal or another I'm going to think about it or I'm not interested. And so my heart was sinking and that I had pressure in my head and my chest, knowing that I had bills that were piling up. And I kept telling my wife that the money would be coming soon. But she said, "Vincent, you keep saying that, but you're not making any money." And I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to quit, thinking of myself, "Oh, I'll never get good at this." Even my wife had to proofread every single one of my email because I couldn't communicate. I felt like I had hit rock bottom. But you know, there are a couple benefits of being at rock bottom. Number one is you cannot go any lower than this in your life. And the second one is it's a foundation to go higher and to build something strong, starting from this rock solid foundation. So right as I was about to give up, I found some things that I knew would absolutely change my life forever. And I remember walking to the free library because I didn't have any money to buy books. And I kind of felt like the wind against my back, almost pushing me inside the library. And of course, I didn't want to read any science fiction book or anything to escape. I had to face reality here. I had to find some things that would actually help me. So I scanned through the list of different sales books, and I sat down and started reading, and I checked one book and went home to keep reading. Now, this book was different, very different, because when regular sales books spend 80% on what you say, this book was a complete opposite. It was 80% on how you listen, using something called dialogue communication. So while other books were focusing on speaking smoothly, this one said, and that's important, this one said the less you speak, the more you're perceived as an expert. When other books were saying numbers, it's a numbers game and you get to count your prospecting calls, this one said, stop counting conversations, make conversations that count. And I thought, wait for a second. That's the key. I don't know how to speak. Heck, I don't even know how to write properly. But if it's one thing I can be good at, is listening. So this will be my answer. So I set out to learn as much as I could about dialogue communication. And starting that time, my life took a complete 180 degree. Positive things started to happen to me. I was making a few more sales and we're getting more confidence with clients. I was getting better listings. And that's when I sold my first 2 yachts, 65 feet and 80 feet, and made a record sales commission in my company for the last 10 years. The commission for the 80 feet was $86,000. Now, when you have been broke for years, 86K is game changing. It's completely changed your life. And I felt I was unstoppable and started traveling to boat shows using, guess what? The same technique to work for Shipyard. I was so excited about what I was learning, and I knew I needed a way to get this out to more people, like other boat sales professionals. So I wanted to share this groundbreaking information with others, but I just didn't know how. I didn't have a platform to teach, nor did I know if I would be successful. But I knew no matter how hard it would be, I needed, and it was my duty to share. So I worked late nights and early mornings to create a sales platform called Yacht Sales Academy that has shown to over 2,000 boat sales professionals and over 500 enrolled students how to be more successful in the boat sales industry. So I'm so proud of all the students that have enrolled in our program. So what's possible now? Well, now I knew how to sell through the dialogue communication method and I make a great living for myself. But something was more important, is that I had found a solution that worked for me because it's focused on listening instead of speaking. And I wasn't good at speaking, so I thought I couldn't be good at sales. But now I know the truth. The less you speak, the more you sell. Now I'm the provider in my family and I have the respect and validation, not only from my father-in-law, like from all my family, but also from myself. And is that awesome? Do you see here in the story? And I hope that my wish is that I can inspire some of you so you can do it too. And I want to share with you exactly how I've done it. So are you cool with that? So we got Milana, David, Eddie, Ricardo, David, Chad, Peters, Tony, Nick, Martha, Tyler, Dave, Jack, Morgan, Adam, Todd, Len, Angelina. Excellent. So if you've been struggling to make sales or even get your first sales, it's probably why. You probably struggle with the same things that I was. You're going to hear some incredible stories during this webinar. You may be pretty good at English, or maybe you might be even a native speaker, but maybe you think that you have to know all kind of clause or small technique, when in reality, all you have to do is to get good at listening and asking the right questions. So if you have been struggling, it's not your fault. I'm serious. You were probably just going through something similar to me. And I've learned how to do this the hard way. I've spent over 10 years, I spent over $200,000 of my own money trying to figure out how I could sell more boats. I would try and talk to more, trying to use different clauses and sales techniques that were ineffective and were just letting me to lose even more deals. Now, not only that, the worst part was the opportunity cost of not selling boats. Think of how many hundreds of thousands of dollars I was missing out by not knowing how to sell more boats. Now, luckily for you, I'm going to share with you what I've learned from spending $200,000 in sales training and coaching for free for you in this webinar. Are you excited? Let me know in the chat. I want to make sure you guys are ready to go so we can get rolling. Excellent. So here is what's the plan today. Secret number one, you will learn the one thing that 95% of brokers do that's actually hurting their sales and costing them clients. How many of you wants to hear about that today? Remember, I already know all that stuff. I can skip this one if you're already good with it. So let me know in the chat. Excellent. Now in secret number two, here is what you're going to learn. How to simplify your sales process to close twice as many clients in half the time. This is absolutely game changing. How many of you wants to learn about that one too? Now let me share with you the third one. How to 10x the number of conversations you have with hot qualified leads for under $50 a month. How many of you are excited to learn about that one too? Excellent. I love seeing that. Oh, let me share. So let's dive in. Secret number one, the one thing that 95% of brokers do that actually hurting their sales and costing them clients. If an immigrant can do it, you can do it too. Imagine being in the top 5% bracket in your field. How amazing would that be for you? Your lifestyle and your family to have such a competitive advantage, right? So let's dive in. And I want to share with you the most simple sales story ever, but that will impact you the most. Last summer, one day, my son comes to see me and asks me help for his frizzy stand. See, we just had built a frizzy stand and he said, Dad, how can I sell a lot of frizzies? I want to sell a lot of frizzies. And my son, Luca, wanted to make money. That was his first business and he was so excited, right? Isn't it so cute? But he wasn't sure what to do. He just knew he could trade frizzies for money. So I asked him, I say, how do you think you should sell frizzies? And he told me all kinds of things about frizzies, how it cools you down in the summer, how cold it is, all the flavors, and on and on and on. And this really reminded me of what I tried to do first when I got into sales. Talk about my product. So after he finishes his speech about frizzies, I sit down close to him and said, so you want to sell a lot of frizzies, right? He said, yes. I said, there is one thing you must do. And I look at him and said, forget about the frizzies. Instead, every time you see someone, just ask them 3 questions. Now, from his look, I could see he was confused. And nervously, he asked me, what questions? So I told him, it doesn't matter. Ask their name, their dog name, if they had a good day, where they bought their shoes, anything, any question you want. So at first he was shy and wasn't able to ask many questions, but as he talked to the first person and then the second person and then the third, he was well on his way to asking all the questions he could ask. And to his surprise, in no time, they completely sold out. We had to go back home, pick up some more remaining frizzies on the freezer, look everywhere, and going back again, and we sold out every single frizzies that day in no time. Now, isn't that interesting? I realized I had taught my kids to use dialogue communication in sales. It didn't matter if it was a frizzy or $1 million yacht. And that was when I had my aha moment. I was like, whoa, dialogue is the only way to sell. You have to forget about the product. I'm going to repeat that. You have to forget about the product. So can you guys see how counterintuitive it is and how powerful it is? Does that make sense? Excellent. So now let's move on to a bigger product. I've been working in the private aviation industry for the last 7 years. For instance, Boeing Business Jets is one of my clients. And so that was around 2 years ago. And I came across this guy who was selling Boeing Business Jet for a living at an aviation show. So now what you have to understand is BBJ, Boeing Business Jet, they build the biggest and most expensive jet you can ever buy. Like the starting price is $50 million and it goes even up to 200 plus millions. So this guy was one of the top sales professionals in his field. And I got a chance to get into a conversation with him and led it to the topics of sales. So by the way, this guy was very well groomed, but it wasn't anything special from an outer appearance point of view, right? So, but as soon as he started to talk about sales and his methodology of selling, I realized this guy was a real deal. And the really interesting thing was that he told me about how he never ever would talk about the jet until him and the clients would become friends. He said he would even purposely avoid the subject. He said he would purposely avoid the subject and wouldn't even talk about the jet until him and the client would become friends. Now, this leads to another important point that I want to share with you. One of the best sales tips I have ever heard in the boating industry, and it was from a broker, a guy I know, a friend of mine called Jason. And he's a very successful broker. And he's my friend on Facebook, and I always see he's listing a lot of boats, selling tons of boats. So last time I'm going to the boat show, I go to see him and I say, hey, you're crushing it. Man, congrats. He's like, yeah, 4 boats under contract this week. I'm like, wow, that's awesome, 4 yachts. And I say, so if you can summarize your success in one tip, what would it be? So he think for a moment. And then he looked at me and said, if you can't sell to your friends, then change friends. And I'm like, whoa. It's kind of like time completely froze. It was the actual best sales tip I've ever heard of. Why? Because it's kind of like he summed up what sales and business is all about in one single statement. And right after that, I remember I wrote it like on my laptop, on my phone, on a sticky note. I'm like, I need to remember that and share it. And he was like, you know, last summer, a friend invited me on a charter on a 40-meter yacht. Just during the charter, we had 4 other friends. We started chatting, talking about boats, and they told me that they were considering about boats. And he ended up selling 4 boats or getting 4 deals just based on hanging out with this group of friends during this charter. So does that make sense to you guys? My son Luca, as a private jet guy, or Jason, focused on one thing and one thing only. It was the relationship. And remember that the only difference between a contact and a contract is the letter R, and it stands for relationship. I remember hearing that one day. So they build a relationship before helping the clients buy the ship. Isn't that awesome? So relationship, I'm going to repeat that. The relation has to come before the ship. They build the relation first and then help them buy the ship. I want to share with you, why do brokers quit? Looking back at the experience of others and from what I've learned in the last 10, 20 years in boat sales, I've watched countless brokers struggle and many times even quit. But I've also noticed some make their way to success. And so you're probably thinking that brokers quit because they don't have enough leads or make enough deals, right? Well, here's the truth. Brokers quit because they don't build enough solid relationship. Who could relate to what I'm talking about? Tell me in the chat by saying yes. So then what to do? Well, there are 2 distinctive paths people can take as a broker, as a boat sales professional. This is important. Number 1 is building a transactional-based business. And number 2 is building a relationship-based business. So whenever I get on the phone with a sales pros that is transactional based, I could tell right away from his tone, from the words he used. I could smell it from like a million miles. It's kind of like when you go to the car dealership and in the corner of your eyes, you see a car salesman, he's waiting a little bit of time before coming to see you because he want to remove the pressure. But the guy's here to sell you. You can sense it, right? Don't you agree? Didn't you have experienced that before, right? So that's a transactional broker, focuses on numbers, getting more leads, pushing product info, and convincing prospects to buy both from them or work with them. Now, the problem is it can be tedious, and I've seen many people get burned at it over time. And I was in this, I mean, I was in the exact same situation not too long ago. I shared with you, and it's stressful, painful because of the endless amount of task and resistance you get from the potential client. So it sucks. But once I made the shift to the second type of broker, the one that build relationship and the one that use dialogue communication, that's when everything changed for me. And as a relationship broker, I focuses on creating a high level of trust, developing a system for attracting versus convincing. And this type of broker is more about pulling than pushing. So you really have two choices here. You decide, you want to be transactional or you want to be relationship using dialogue. Now, let me demonstrate that to you. Might be familiar with that. So I want to go into detail about our industry. I've worked with over 300 shipyards. I've marketed nearly 3,000 boats and yachts in my life. So the more I saw them, the more something became, I started to notice a recurring pattern. Can you see the boats here? What do you notice? 6 different brands, but they all look almost exactly the same. Isn't that crazy? I mean, it's the same material, same type of engine, same type of design, same type of electronics, same type of upholstery. To the untrained eyes, like if I show that to my mom or my grandmas, they will tell me that they look like exactly the same. They are just different colors. Our industry is very generic. Don't you agree? I mean, you look at trawler and any segment of boat, you look at super yacht, you look at trawler, you look at runabouts, you look at sailing boat. It's quite generic, right? So what does that mean to you as a salesperson? This means that every boat seller is saying to say the exact same thing over and over and over again. I mean, haven't you noticed? If you talk to someone about a product, they say, oh, it's the best quality, it's the best performance, the best comfort, best value, best price. Now, the problem for your prospects, the guy you're working for, your clients, is they are unable to differentiate one product from another. Their brain shuts down, literally shuts down. Now, can you see now why focusing on the product just doesn't work anymore, especially in an industry like ours that is quite generic? Because when we push and throw the information about our boats at our clients before we establish the trust, this is how they feel. This is the same type of information for them, just so much information. So you guys getting it? Does that make sense? So based on what we talked about, can you see what the one thing that 95% of brokers are doing that's actually hurting their sales and costing them clients? Tell me in the chat. The one thing that 95% of brokers do that's actually hurting their sales and costing them clients is that they are pushing what? Information before establishing trust. Is that making sense? Can you see why that is costing sales professional millions of dollars in unearned commission? Because the truth is when you push information, it's kind of like sales suicide. You fly away with no way home but down. And I don't want that for you because I've done the same before. And I'm here like, hey, don't do the same mistake I've been doing, right? I want to give you another quick example. Now, to demonstrate this, I want to use one of the most amazing business success of our time. No, it is not Apple or iPhone. It's a product that we use so many times a day, consumed by billions of people worldwide. Product that is a commodity. So what I'm talking about coffee. And there is a genius guy that came around 20 years ago and that transformed that $1 commodity product into a $5 luxury mini experience. And the name of that guy is Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks. How did he do that? He focused on the client instead of focusing on the product. He didn't do the mistake that 95% of people were doing. In the word of Howard Schultz, I read his book and I want to share this quote that he said, we're not in the coffee business serving people, we are in the people business serving coffee. See, he put trust before information. He put the clients before the products. Now, do you see the pattern here? Do you see the pattern? And this is what dialogue communication is based on. That's what is going to make you so successful. And that's why I'm so excited. Now, for who will this method of dialogue communication work for? Anybody that sells anything, to be honest. Are you a marine surveyor, sales manager, sales professional, business owner? Whether you sell canoe, you sell charter, you sell yacht, you sell super yacht. I'm not here to teach you about your product, guys. I'm here to help sell more by sharing the story. I'm not here to teach. I'm just here to share a story, actually, because it will help you even in your own life. And I came with that quote last year, is that if you sell, you repel. Can you see why the way sales professionals are taught on how to sell right now is done false? The things that you can find on thousands of books on the arts of selling, techniques, tricks, closing methods, event script is the wrong direction. Really, what you need is not more technique, script, or anything like that. It's much more fundamental, that it boils down to the way we communicate with one another and build trust. And more specifically, boils down to the way we communicate using dialogue. And I just show you the one thing that 95% of brokers do that's actually hurting their sales and costing them clients. So how many of you thought that I was pretty game changing? How many of you thought that I was very powerful and very simple at the same time? How many of you are now ready to crush it with the secret number 2? So I can show you exactly how you can apply. Let me know in the chat. So we got Milana, David, Eddie, Ricardo, Eric, Peters, Tony, Nick, Martha, Tyler, Dave, Jack, Morgan, Adam, Todd, Len, Angelina. Let me know. So we jump in secret number 2. Excellent. So secret number 2. Let's now dive in. How to simplify your sales process to close twice as many clients in half the time. Do you want to know what is that? Now you're probably thinking, well, dialogue communication looks amazing and all, but it looks like kind of complex and hard to learn. And maybe you're even thinking, well, I don't have time to learn it. I'm just so busy in my job right now. I gotta go back to my clients. Well, that's exactly why we have secret number 2 for you today. So you'll be surprised how easy it is. Let me share with you a story. There was a socialite lady who had a chance to have dinner in the same week with both prime minister contestants. One of them was called Gladstone, and the other one was called Disraeli. Now, they were very close in the elections, and it was a final round of the elections. So she went for dinner with these 2 prime minister contestants. So here is what she reportedly said. She said, after dinner with Gladstone, I thought he was the most interesting person in the world. But after dinner with Disraeli, I thought I was the most interesting person in the world. Now, guess who won the election 2 weeks after? Disraeli won. Do you see where I'm going here? You can be the smoothest talker in the world. You can be the most interesting person in the world, but you will not beat a guy who listens, who pays attention, and who asks the right question using dialogue communication. I want to share and I want to take you on a story of the 4 stage that sales professional is going through in order for them to be successful. Now, luckily, there is a shortcut. And that's why I want to share this journey for you, so you can notice where is the shortcut and you can take it. So pay attention. You see, I told you when I was first starting out in sales, I was getting into this whole sales business. I learned quickly that in order to survive, I would need to train myself to get better, right? So I consumed sales books to learn how to be successful in sales. Because I wanted to, like, my internal desire wanted to be able to look at my wife in the eyes and say, hey, I got that covered. Everything is under control, right? Our future of a family is going to be secure. So after spending a significant amount of time learning about all the sales process and method, things were starting to come together. Sales started to become a little bit easier, communication with clients a little bit easier. I felt a relief in that moment, and I thought that was a bit in the control. But soon after, I ran into some major setback. This caused me many sleepless nights and stressful late evenings staring at my bright computer and like, what's going on? And you know what was the problem? It's very simple. I was on the first stage of a salesperson, and it's called the monologue. Because here is what the problem. I thought that to be the smooth salesperson, I needed to be a good talker, emulate smooth talker, learn by heart my pitch or presentation, know every detail or technical aspect about the product, and to push as much information as possible. Now, do you remember what we learned on the secret number 1, right? And so we learned that pushing information first is what 95% of salespeople are doing, that is costing them the sales, right? And that's what the monologue is. I mean, if you or someone, a stranger, come to you and start giving you life advice, your reaction is like, I don't know you. And second reaction is like, I don't need or want to hear anything from you, right? And that's what I was doing. So I got absolutely nowhere. And that was my main reason for failure, right? Because there is no persuasion in monologue. You're just talking. People are bombarded with communication. They don't need to hear you. So now, because I faced that wall, I'm like, I'm going nowhere with that. And I started to have more rejection from people. So what did I think? I said, well, how about if I start now working on rejection? Maybe I'll get better, right? Big mistake. That was my evolution to stage 2 of the sales process. The debate. I did my best work on handling rejection and objection. I remember like I would create flashcards and learning so much about rejection. And even though I was getting a little bit further in the sales process, I still ran into the same problem. Because I was trying to win a person of my way of thinking, but obviously it wasn't working. I was just wasting time. There was that guy like Dale Carnegie. I remember the quote. He said like, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. And that's exactly what I was facing. I mean, look at political debate on TV. They never go anywhere, right? Why? Because debate just simply don't work. So what did I do after that? I'm like, oh, damn, it's not working. I need to keep going my sales education. And I went into a further self-development and reached what I call the danger zone, where so many of you guys might be right now. And this is not the shortcut. I don't want you to go there. And this is what you find in all the books, in all the things they say, sales today is about win-win. It's about discussion. So I'm like, so I learned how to build rapport and understand needs and have a win-win approach. So I thought that must be it. Now I'm going to be successful. Right? But guess what? When you have a win-win agenda situation, people can sense that. They can sense that you have an agenda. When I was telling people, we're going to have a win-win, they could sense that I was not advocating for them. And as a result, they didn't want to do business with me. So I ran into the same problem. I was like, what the heck? I spent all that time building rapport, understanding needs, but they won't sign the agreement. And at that point, honestly, I thought I would throw the towel and like, I'm done with sales. But considering my circumstance, remember in my story, I couldn't. So I had to find a way. And I realized that it's at that point also that I realized what was wrong with all my 3 stages before. And you know why? Why the agendas, the debate, and the discussion didn't work? Because they all had an agenda, the expectation of making a sale. And people will sense that. Because I had a bias in all the question, all the communication that I was doing, I had a bias to get interest for me. And as a result, people were trusting me less and were less likely to do business with me. So that's what I needed to change. And when I discovered the dialogue. Now, the dialogue was invented by Socrates 2,500 years ago. That guy is brilliant. And it's the most persuasive form of verbal communication. It's a shortcut that I want you to use. It's the last stage of the evolution of a salesperson. Highest form of persuasion. Why? Because you would influence people to persuade themselves. You don't even have to do the persuading. They'll do it on their own. So can you see how when you focus on others, it's going to be so much easier for them to influence themselves? And that's a huge shift that you need to understand in sales. You don't want to assume the sales. Instead, I needed to focus on finding out if there were sales to be made. So does that make sense? I'm going to show you exactly an example of dialogue. It's going to be as clear as water for you. But the dialogue, the difference with the dialogue is you have to let go of the expectation of making a sales. So do you see how it works? And how do you find out? What you ask people questions, and by responding to this question, they will convince themselves that they need your product. And that's why it's the highest form of persuasion, because people are persuading themselves. Dialogue is kind of like having superhero power to influence others in your way of thinking just by asking the right questions. And that's what helped me put my life in control and my career. So I want to give you an example so it's so clear for you. Okay? That example will change your life. Let's imagine you're hiring a carpenter to do some work in your kitchen. I'm going to ask you which one of those two carpenters are you going to hire? The one that use monologue, debate, and discussion, or the one that use dialogue? So here's the first one. He comes down, so he has a big black bag. He arrives in your house, he put it down and start pulling all kinds of tools. He show you his high-end drills and saw routers and other tools you don't even recognize. He attempts to amuse you with how unique his tools are and how some are even designed to his specification to do the things that other carpenters can't do. He tells you about the unique installation he has done for some big name celebrities. He keeps showing you and talking to you about his brochure and portfolio. And after his intensive demonstration, he asks you if it's clear that he's obviously the best choice to do the work. And you have a couple of concern, and you start, working on rejection and things like this. And I mean, he's doing a nice presentation, but you can really feel that he's really pushing his product and really using the debate, the monologue, and the discussion. Now let's compare to the second carpenter that use dialogue. Comes in and also has a big black bag, but he doesn't even open it. He starts by asking exactly what you're thinking about and what vision you have for your kitchen. Whoa, what a great question. What vision do you have for your kitchen? He asks, why is this important to you? He seems very interested not only by what you want done, but also by how you want it done and why you want it done. He asks about how you came to decide that now was the time to do it. How much disruption would be acceptable in getting the work done. Any other consideration you have, the end results you want, and also the timing. I mean, everything is focused on you and what you want. And he hasn't even opened his bag or his brochure or his portfolio. So let me ask you a question. Which one would you hire? You know this carpenter knows what he's doing just by the questions he's been asking you, right? Now, which one would you hire? The one that uses a monologue, debate, or discussion, or the one that uses a dialogue? Which one do you feel more connected to? And which sales process is much simpler to use with less headache, shorter sales cycle? You can see the difference, right? So let me know in the chat, because I want to share another amazing story with you guys. Another sales story that will help you so much. Excellent. So there is a guy in Miami. He's an absolute top producer realtor. His name is John Lennon. And in the past 15 years, he sold $3 billion worth of apartment. Guess where? In one single street in South Beach, Miami. One single street. He made a ridiculous amount of money in commission. And so a few months ago, I read an interview about this guy. And here is the interviewer asking him, John, how come you're so good at what you do? What's your secret? There are hundreds of agents who attempt to sell like you in the market, but how do you sell over 100 times more than most of those guys? So the guy responded and he said, okay, let me tell you. So when I started in real estate, I was in an office with 4 other agents. We all took turn incoming foot traffic or phone call. So they all had the same number of leads. We had the same number of prospect to work with. He said each agent would close at least one every 3 to 4 months, and I was closing 31 deals per month. Can you realize that, guys? And now the interviewer said, what was the difference? Now listen, he said the difference was that I wasn't selling what they were selling. Sure, it was the same building and the same apartment units and the same price, but I was selling something different for every different person. He said, last week, for instance, I sold a $4 million parking space, a $2.8 million gym and spa access pass, a $6 million walk-in closet, and each came with an apartment included. The interviewer said, but what do you mean you sold a $4 million parking space? So he said, I discovered that the parking space was what was the most important for that buyer, because he owned vintage car and had a bad experience in previous building. So I spent an hour explaining the security, the safety, the cleanliness of our underground parking. Then he couldn't write the check fast enough. Then he added more salespeople, tried to sell everything to every person every time. This is a huge mistake. A realtor will show all the units available in someone's price range, pointing out all the features and everything they like about each place. Even when a client point out some things they like, the agents just continue showing more units. In other words, what? Selling, right? Oh, you also need to see that. You also need to see that. Oh, look at the view of this spectacular. Let me also show that view, that and that. Too many options create what? He said, too many options create a blur of complexity, diminishing the desire to make a decision and buy. So sometimes it's just the parking space they are interested in. So I read this interview. I'm like, whoa, that guy's so brilliant. Do you see how John knew? He was using dialogue communication. That's why he was so successful. Now, let me share with you the perfect dialogue question you can use in boat sales, for instance. Next time you're showing a boat or selling anything, even if you're selling survey or selling a sketch for naval architecture or anything you're doing, or a charter, you say, hey, there are hundreds of great things I can tell you about this boat. But what's the most important thing for you? That way they discover what they are really looking for. And you just do like John, and they'll end up buying. So did you guys notice how John had the same number of prospects to work with, but was closing 100 times more than the other agent? Why? Because he was using dialogue and he was focusing on the client instead of on what the product. He also said, I don't sell at all. He emphasized on the interview, he said, I ask questions, I listen, and then I observe. I found out what's really most important for them, and I focus on those features. Boom, that was the key. And that's dialogue communication. It's completely putting the focus on the other person. Does that make sense? Is it clear to you? Guys, I'm so excited to share that with you guys because the stories are so powerful and they will change the way you sell. They will change your life. So, after seeing these examples I shared with you, can you see that dialogue communication can shorten, facilitate, and exponentially grow your sales process? How many of you had a aha moment just like I did when I first read the stories? Let me know in the chat. Can you see how easy it is? Now, you don't even need to worry about what you say, right? The dialogue communication will cut the time it takes to build trust in half, get rid of all the cause of rejection. Your prospect will be more open to listen. You will be perceived as an expert. And ultimately, you reduce the sales cycle and increase sales, just like how John did. Okay? The realtor. Excellent. So I just show you how to simplify your sales process and close twice as many clients in half the time by using dialogue communication. How many of you thought that those sales stories were amazing and will help you so much in your future? I mean, those stories, guys, have helped me so much also. That's why I want to share them with you. Excellent. So now I have a little treat for you. Secret number 3. Now you're probably thinking, okay, dialogue looks pretty easy to learn and I can see how it will work for me, but you might be thinking, I don't have enough people to talk to, right? Well, that's our third secret. We'll answer that for you. I'm going to show you how to 10x the number of conversations you have with hot qualified leads for under $50 a month. Would you like to know how? For those of you who aren't tech savvy or don't have a big budget for ad, don't worry, because you don't need to be tech savvy and you don't need any budget. This is why it's perfect for you. So are you guys ready? Let's dive in. Excellent. I want to share a quick story with you. There was a lady who wanted to sell her kittens. She couldn't take care of them, so she decided to sell them. She brainstormed a few ideas and realized that after posting a newspaper ad, it might work for her. So after excitedly posting a newspaper ad, she waited in anticipation to see a huge flood of phone calls that would be coming to get the kitten, right? And so the day she posted the ad, 1 hour passed, 3 hours, 10 hours, 1 day. Finally, after 3 days, no phone call. I'm like, what's going on? At the end of the 3rd day, the phone rang. She sprinted to the phone while almost tripped on the floor on the chair. She answered the phone and yelled, "Yes, who is this?" And the person on the other line, a little bit shocked, say, "This is a friendly reminder about your dentist appointment tomorrow." She was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do with the kitten? I got no phone call." So she thought, well, maybe they put the wrong phone number in the ad, so I'm going to double check. She read the newspaper and like she found her ad, but she's like, "Oh my gosh, there are so many ads." She see hundreds of ads of people that are giving or selling kitten away. And they all said, "Oh, cutest kitten, fluffiest kitten, most adorable kitten," and so forth and so forth. So she suddenly came to her. She said, "There are hundreds of these ads and mine just don't stand out from the rest." So she called the newspaper company and asked if she could change her ad. And they say, "No, you have to pay for it." She's like, "I don't have money. I can't do that." So she's like, "Okay, can you change one word for me?" And I say, "Okay, we'll do that. You're a nice lady. We'll change one word." She said, "Okay, replace cute by ugly." So 4 ugly kittens for sale and her phone number. The very next morning, she waited in anticipation. She's sitting right beside her phone, right, ready to pick up the phone. By 10 a.m., no phone call. She thought, damn. It's a morning, maybe people are busy. She waited a few hours past, it was noon, nothing. So she started to feel like kind of like anger and disappointment and already thinking the worst case scenario, right? I'm going to bring them to the SPCA. When suddenly, boom, the phone rang. She wasn't even excited or anything. At that point, she was like, maybe it's not even for the kitten. But as soon as she answered the phone, she heard, "When can I pick them up?" And she's like, whoa, this thing is working. In that afternoon, right after that, in no time, she sold the 4 kitten. She got a flood of phone call and had to unplug the phone line. She realized that through this experience, she could have sold kitten for so much more money also. So can you see what exactly made her successful at selling the kitten? Why did she sell the kitten in no time? Because she got people attention. Okay. And this story, when the first time I heard this story, made me realize the importance of having and keeping attention to people in sales. And I hope it will change your perception of that too, because attention is the key to being successful at selling. Without it, you'll be like the lady waiting for days with no phone call. So does that make sense to you? And the problem you might face in the marketplace today is that it's becoming harder and harder to get people's attention. Why? Traditional channels of communication, they just don't stand out anymore. They don't help you getting attention from prospect. And when I was trying to get more leads for my clients, I faced a barrier. I was kind of like the same lady. Nothing that I was doing stood out from the rest of the marketplace. I was sending newsletter. How many of you guys send newsletter? Click-through rate newsletter, 2 days, the average is 2%. I'm like, okay. Open rate average in the industry is 20%. Can you guys see how traditional newsletter is ineffective, right? It was for me. Second thing, I say, okay, maybe I'll do cold call. So I know some of you are probably doing cold call too. sorry, not cold email. But guess what? When you send 100 email, maybe less than 5% respond to you, and they're not even interested, just lukewarm. How many of you could relate to that? Let me know in the chat. So as I said, say, okay, maybe I'll try cold call. And the one that, by the way, I hated the most, because not because it didn't work, but because the return on investment was so low and it made me feel uncomfortable. And I did a cold calling, and did you know that 91% of phone call is unanswered or going to voicemail? So every 10 calls that I talk to someone, I'll be lucky to get an appointment, and maybe every 10 appointment, lucky to get the sales. I mean, how ineffective is that? You guys see the odd, right? So I'm sure you want to know the better way. How many of you guys would like to know the better way? Because I finally stumbled upon the absolute best way today to get attention from people. So let me know in the chat and I'll share with you. So what's working? What's his better way? Let me share a story with you. So one day there was a salesperson, and his job was to sell birthday package to restaurants. And that week he sent 3,500 newsletters to restaurants. Guess how many responses he had? Like 1 or 2 responses. But clients didn't even care or didn't even want. And the guy was like depressed. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go bankrupt. Like my business not working. He worried about his business. So he called that business marketing consultant named Dean Jackson. The guy is super good. So the guy came to see him. He says, okay, so what did you do this week? He's like, oh, I sent 3,500 newsletter. He said, you want to read it? He said, no, don't even show me the newsletter. He said, do that. Send this email to your list. Subject, question, body of the email, hi, name. Do you organize birthday party? And he says, send that to all the 3,500 restaurants. So he sent that. Boom. You know how many responses he got? 763 responses. The guy was like panicking and stuff. Oh my gosh, it works so well. So he said, okay, now the guy's like, okay, now can I send them my newsletter, my brochure? He said, no. Listen to me. He said, now ask them if they can accommodate 5 birthday party next month. So he responded to the 700 email. He said, can you accommodate 5 birthday party next month? Over 300 restaurant owners responded. Whoa. He said, okay, now tell them briefly about your service. So the guy responded and said, well, I'm glad you see you can organize up to 5 birthday parties. So maybe you might be interested in getting birthday party package in bulk, which is what I have. I have some great value in package. Shall I send you a brochure? That was the 3rd email. Now, based on that campaign, 3 short emails, the guy sold thousands and thousands of dollars of birthday package to dozens of clients. Why? Because he has struggled to get people attention, but Dean had somehow turned that completely around. So the guy asked Dean Jackson, but why did it work? And he said, it's very simple. Your newsletter are like reading legal document. People don't have time for that. People lose interest right away. So what I did instead is send a short message. Just one question, no more than 9 words. Why did that work? Because it's like a text message. It's short, it's personal, and it's expecting a reply. Boom. Did you just have the same aha moment as I did when I heard that story? It's short, it's personal, and it's expecting a reply. So do you know what I did? I did the same thing. I went to my list and I sent a 9-word email. I see my first campaign, I made over $10,000. I'm like, oh my gosh, that thing works so well. Then I start telling my clients doing the same, and they start selling some boats with a 9-word email, reconnecting with people. I'm like, this works so well. So I applied this principle on every communication channel. The 9-word email has made me thousands and thousands of dollars and millions in sales. It simply works. Can you see how amazing it is? Because it's kind of like sending a text message. When we text someone, it's short, it's personal, and it's expecting a reply. Now, so I realized it was a game changer, and I started using it, but soon after I ran into a couple of problems. I could use that only every few months on my list. I couldn't send every day a 9-word email. So it was also kind of like time consuming to respond to all the email manually when I was receiving like, hundreds of email. So instead I needed something that was similar, but that will be automated. And that instead of using every few months, that will work on everyday basis. And I finally found that dream tool that I want to share with you, and it will change your life and it will change yourself. How many of you guys would like to know that? Excellent. You see, sometimes the best idea comes from a combination of two great ideas. Look at an ice cream and a cone, for instance. Ice cream was consumed over 2,000 years ago. The waffle cone the waffle had been invented 800 or 900 years ago, but the guys that invented Italian ice cream, he did that in 1905. So he combined two ideas. And so I found that short personal message that I expect a reply, and the frequency of email, like an email sequence, sending them several times in a period of time. And this tool is called Woodpecker, and it allows me to send personal message with follow-up all on autopilot. So whenever I get a reply from one of my leads, it directly lands into my inbox, and I get notification on my phone and then responding right away. So Woodpecker is kind of like having multiple clones of yourself sending out personal email that gets response on your behalf. Isn't that awesome? Can you guys imagine what it would be like to walk every single morning and have prospect ready to talk to you and doing business with you? Now, the good news is you don't have to spend a lot. It's only $50 a month. I'm not selling it, I'm just giving you information, but the tool is just $50 a month, the software. There is no personal assistant in the world cheaper than $50 a month. And also it works for you 24/7, 7 days a week. So now some of you may be curious to know what kind of results we're talking about, right? How would you like to see the result? Let me know in the chat. Well, here are some of the results. I've been using this for the last 4 years for my 3 companies. Look at the top campaign. I've already got 27% response rate, and the campaign is not even halfway yet. Second campaign, almost done, 44% response rate. You know what I mean? Just imagine selecting 200 email of prospects. You send them short personal messages on autopilot that will follow up with them step by step, and you will end up talking directly to 100 of them. This is a dream tool. Can you guys see why you don't have to spend an entire fortune on lead generation? This can skyrocket your results. So let me ask you a question. If you followed what I show you in secret number 1 and put trust before providing information, then you did what I show you in secret number 2, which is simplifying your sales process using dialogue communication to close twice as many clients in half the time. And then you use secret number 3 to 10x the number of conversations you have with hot leads. Do you think you could be successful? Of course you could be. If you have those things, there is no way you wouldn't be successful, right? I want you to put this into action right away. I've been in this business a long time, and I've found that there are only 2 kinds of people. There's the people who are good at making sales and people who are good at making excuses. You cannot be both. If you're good at making excuses, I hate to say, but I think you're going to have a really hard time. Now, the good news is that you get to choose. In this moment, you can choose which type of person you're going to be. So don't be someone who makes excuses. Be someone who actually makes sales. So invest in improving your sales. How many of you are action taker? Let me know in the chat. I want to see some action taker here. Because I want you to see you apply what we're sharing here. So let me ask you a question. How many of you are feeling a little bit like those kids or cats right now? Like you just aren't sure what to do now with all the information I gave you. Like, oh, that information was awesome, but it came so fast right on my face. So many good stories, so many good stuff. You don't know where to go. You don't know where to start. Well, that's okay. I know that's a lot for A lot of this might be overwhelming and it might not be all clear at this point, but my point is, all this was to help open your eyes to really what's possible with dialogue communication. Now, for some of you, you have just enough to start prospecting and get started, but I know for some of you, you might not be sure what to do first. So we put together a really cool offer called Yacht Sales Academy Sales Masterclass to help you master the dialogue communication. So is it okay if you take 10, 15 minutes to show you how you can work with me for free to get started using dialogue communication? Let me know in the chat. Because this will literally put you on the right path so that we can help guarantee your success. Are you cool with that? So let me know in the chat. I always like to give away valuable information beforehand, so I appreciate you letting me share this with you. Let me know in the chat. So are we cool with that? Yes, 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 yes. Excellent. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the Yacht Sales Academy Sales Masterclass. What are you going to get when you invest in the Sales Masterclass? We don't have a ton of time to talk about all the amazing things inside the Masterclass, but I will share with you the coolest part about the Sales Masterclass. And the coolest part is that we dive deep into the exact process and method to use dialogue communication we were talking about earlier. So you'll know the exact questions to ask at the right time. Wouldn't be that amazing? So here is what we're going to cover. We'll cover mindset. We're going to cover the new way of selling and communication style, dialogue with all the right questions for both sales at the perfect time, transition and presentation, storytelling, or the final review. Then we'll cover follow-up and negotiation, which is also critical in sales, and much, much more. So are you guys excited? Now, here is the Sales Masterclass total value of $2,997. That will help you with the entire dialogue communication. So what else do you need? I asked my fellow broker, and the number one thing they were struggling with in their business was, how do I get more listings? And I knew this was a big problem in the industry. So I set out to create an awesome training called How to Get More Listings. And I want to make it clear that this is what you are investing in. If you don't list, you don't last. You will learn the script to close during listing appointment, more strategy to get more listing, how to get the boat at the right price, and much more. Are you guys excited about that? And now I speak, I got $13 million worth of listings over the last 8 months. So I know exactly what I'm talking about here and our clients. So I'm so excited to share with you all the best case studies on listings. Okay. So to recap, here is what you're going to get. The Yacht Sales Academy Sales Masterclass, how to get more listings for a total value of $4,994. Now, there is anything else you need. Well, when I was selling boats, I would give a great presentation, which is only a small part of what you're going to learn how to do inside the Sales Masterclass. But then I would wonder how I needed to follow up with my clients. Sometimes they will have to think about it, and I needed a follow-up system, right? So I wanted to give you mine, which itself is worth almost $2,000. But you're going to get it for free with your investment today. I'm going to teach you guys the methods and give you the exact templates to use for your follow-up through by phone conversation or email or text. Remember, the money is in the follow-up. This is why it's so important for you. So there is what you're going to get. The Yacht Sales Academy Sales Masterclass, how to get more listing program, the follow-up blueprint for a total of $6,991. Now, I want no excuse as to why you can't be successful. You have the Sales Masterclass, you're going to get all the listings, you have the follow-up blueprint so you can make more sales. So what else do you need? What about you actually have a showing and finally get down to final negotiations? Well, guess what? You will never make as much money as when you are negotiating. This is why I want to give you my boat sales negotiation method so you can know exactly the right tips for any situation in your career. This might be one of the most valuable tools that I can give you, but I'm doing it because I know that the tips inside these methods have made me so much money, and I'm going to give them to you for free. How many of you want my method for free for negotiation? Awesome. So let's do a really quick recap. Here's what you're going to get. The Yahtzee Academy Sales Masterclass, how to get more listings, follow-up blueprint, both sales negotiation method for a total value of $8,988. Now, there is one last thing that I want to do for you. You're going to get the Sales Masterclass to absolute master the dialogue communication, to get a stream of new prospects. You will learn how to follow up with them, to set appointment and negotiate with them to close the deal and not leave any deals or dollar on the table. How cool is that? But now you remember secret number 3. We're talking about the woodpecker sequence to engage with potential customers, right? Now, I've never done anything like this before, but I want to give you an exclusive training that will walk you through everything you need to get set up. And it's called Woodpecker Secrets Hacks. You're going to get my favorite woodpecker hacks, how to get more open clicks and even replies, and walk through videos so you can get started right away. And I include all of that for free. Are you guys good with the Woodpecker Secret Hacks also? Excellent. Now I want to add something extra because I'm feeling in a good mood today. I want to add something else. I want to add also the 30 secrets to both sales. Why? I've distilled 10 years of knowledge into this training. It has a $500 value. This is a more tactical and foundation on sales and marketing. You're going to get all the training and everything you're going to get in this training. I want to read a couple of testimonials from some CEO of some of the top biggest brokerage company in the US mentioned about that training. I highly recommend the 30 secrets to both sales. Over 20, now it's over 50. Dunn Broker have successfully completed the course. Every single one of them received value from taking the training and told me they will vouch for the investment. It's a great course for new and experienced broker alike. Our industry desperately need more trainings program like this one. So it's from Bob Dunn. Isn't that awesome? Can you see yourself taking that training too? Here's another testimony from Peter Schmidt, CEO of United. I got a chance to spend some time looking through your boat sales technique, and I'm totally impressed. It's a lot of information, and it's something that will greatly benefit all our brokers. This, absolutely for free, value of $500 put in the package for you. So to recap, here's what you're going to get. Yahtzee Academy Sales Masterclass, how to get more listings program, the follow-up blueprint, both sales negotiation method, the Woodpecker Secrets Hack. I'll throw also my 30 secrets to both sales. Total value excluding 30 secrets to both sales because I'm giving you for free here is $9,985. Now, if all of this helps you build relationship of trust with your potential clients so you can close more deals, wouldn't it be worth that amount? Of course it would be. One of my team members just closed a deal. We got $130,000 commission this week. You just need the right person to explain it to you, and that's what we've done for you here. And of course it would be worth $9,985. If all of this did was to help you simplify the sales process so you could shorten your sales cycle and improve your sales significantly, would it be worth $9,985? Definitely. I mean, we spend around 3 times that amount each month just to keep our business running. So of course it would be definitely worth it. Now, if all of this did was to help you 10x the number of conversations you have with hot qualified leads, would it be worth it? Absolutely it would. How much is one lead worth to you? Remember when I was telling you my story, $86,000 commission just for one deal. So are you guys getting this? Does that make sense? Now, some of you might be thinking, but Vincent, I'm not making 86K per boat, and I understand that. Some of you are focusing on smaller boats or service, which is great. I used all of that for service. I shared with you before. Even if you were just able to close up to a couple of small boats still per month, that would be worth it, right? Can you see how powerful this can be for you? This is what I want you to understand, how powerful. So I had 2 choices. The first option was I could go as cheap as possible and try to sell as many of these things as possible. But the problem is that I don't have the resources to really stack on the value for you guys. Like I said before, we spend around 20 to 30K a month just to keep our company afloat. So it wouldn't really work for us to sell this for $97. So we decided to go after a different route. And this requires a little bit of a higher investment on your part. But in exchange, our team can help devote more time, attention, and resources to help guarantee your success. I hope that it makes sense to you. So you can see why it's a good deal at $9,995. But after this week is over and this promotion ends, we're going to be raising the price back to your original retail value. But I want to do something really cool for you, because you guys are supporting me, are a part of my list, and stuck with us during the webinar because you are special. I'm going to give you access to everything for just one payment of $997. Now, some of you will tell me, okay, but I don't have any money. I'm just starting. I'm waiting for my commission, etc., etc. So I want to make it available for you too. So I will exceptionally allow you also to have a 3-time payment. So you can start for only $397 today. 3 payment of $397. One today, one in 60, one in 30 days, and one in 60 days. Now I need you guys to understand why this is such a screaming good deal. First, it's a write-off. It's like it's a business expense. But second, if you were on our website, you would pay $2,997 just for the sales masterclass as standalone product. That means if it doesn't come with any other tools, you need to really skyrocket your success. But today, you're going to get all of those at no cost in the bonus package. So the first option is to do nothing, which is 100% risk-free for you and not take the leap of faith. The second option, which is to pony up the small investments today compared to all the value you're going to get in returns and give it a shot. I want to make that second option easier for you. So when you invest today, I'm going to give my ultimate guarantees. I'm going to give you 110% money back guarantee. Yes, you hear me right. If you invest $997 and for any reason you don't like it, then within 30 days I will pay you back $1,100, and that's an extra $100. You actually made money investing in this course. But just so you know, we had less than 1% of people refund in over 500 courses. So this is why I'm confident to offer this. Now, here's my other guarantee. Is that if you don't double your sales within 1 year, contact me and I will fully refund your course. So you can get started now, knowing that if you don't like it, you can get all your money back plus an extra $100 for trying it out. I also want you guys to know, it's not about, you're not investing in me, it's about you. It's about you and your success. But this offer is only, like most people in your circumstances will grab this opportunity with both hands, knowing that there is almost no risk. So it's available on this webinar. So take advantage of it right now. You have nothing to worry about. When you're ready to change your life, this is what you need to start doing. Let me put the little offer in the chat here. I'm going up. You will see the offer on the top right. Okay, so you will see the offer on the top right close to the chat. So when you're ready to change your life, this is what you need to start doing. Open up a browser window, Google Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Internet Explorer, whatever, and go to yahtsacademy.com/go to get started. You know that the top guys who are using these methods are making over $2 million per year using dialogue communication sales method. So if you really messed up and ended up making 200K this year, what would that do for your life? Now, let's say you're just starting out and a total beginner and you only get 10% of the 10%. It's an extra 20,000. What would you be able to do with an extra 20,000 this year? What would car, maybe a down payment for a house, or vacation with your family, or pay off some debt? Okay, and that's only if you really, really screw up. Think about this. All of us have disposable income, and most people get their paycheck each month, and a percentage of that goes toward movies, candy, magazines, Starbucks, coffee, going out, things like this. Now, I'm not asking you to go into debt for this at all. What I'm asking you is to take some of that disposable income you're going to spend on movies or dinner or all kind of stuff, and instead of blowing it on something temporary that you I'm asking you to make an investment in yourself, because the money you put into this is ultimately going to turn into more money for you. So if you already get started, make a difference, go to yatsalesacademy.com/go to get started. And I'm sure you have heard of Robert Kiyosaki in like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Talks about the difference between assets and liabilities. He said, the poor people, they buy liabilities. They buy expensive clothing and things that you put money in and the money disappear. Rich people, they put money into investment that actually turns into more money for them. And this is what Azuz. All I'm asking you is to divert some of that disposable income into an investment in the Sales Masterclass Dialogue Communication, as opposed to something that's going to take money away from you. Okay? Now I want to do something special. I realize that people who take action faster are always the best students. Why? It's very simple. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. If you take forever to take decision and procrastinate making decision, guess what? Chances are you're going to attract clients that will always be indecisive. And if you don't invest in yourself, guess what? Chances are others will not invest in you. So for that reason, I've got a special bonus for the 3 people who get started today. My best students take action fast, so I want to reward people who take action now. I can't do this for everybody because my time is limited, but this is my fast action bonuses for the first 3 people. So if you're already in, that's awesome for you. If you're going to push, if you think you're a little bit over the fence, I would do it right now. So here is what you get for the first 3 people. How many of you guys would like to work with me personally, right? And you know I'm super busy, but I want to do something special for you. I'm going to get a 90-minute one-on-one coaching session with you where we set up your lead generation machine. Yes, you heard it right. What that means is that by the time we stop the Skype call, your automated lead generation machine will be set up and rolling. How many of you would like to help you that? Okay, for free, you can get the machine set up. So every day you go to work, you're going to have communication with prospects and new leads. Isn't that cool? I want you to have amazing results. And I'm going to help and do the whole setup for you. So to recap, those who get started today, Yat Sales Academy Sales Masterclass, how to get more listings, the follow-up blueprint, both sales negotiation method, the woodpecker secret hacks for total value of $9,985. Today, I was also wanted to do something special. I added the 30 secrets to both sales at a value of $500 for you. And for the first 3 people, you're also going to get 90 minutes with me where I'm going to set it up, your lead generation machine. Okay? Now, there is no pressure. I want to make sure we are a good fit. If you're here collecting information, this course might not be for you. Now, if you're here taking action, then you're in the right place. And I look forward to have you join our masterclass. I want to do this together with you. So let's make this happen. If you're still watching, I'm assuming you either don't think it's going to work for you or you're scared about the investment maybe. And if you aren't sure it's going to work for you, then I want to put all those fears aside and let you know that everything you're investing are proven success. And if you don't like it for any reason, you can get all your money back and then some. I want to ask you a question now. In your life, do you know what's your biggest expense? The biggest expense is not tax, is not your house, is not your car payment, is not your, you know, the biggest expense is ignorance. Ignorance about how to sell more. Stop paying for the biggest expense in your life, which is ignorance. It's your turn to win. If you're ready, go to yatsalesacademy.com/go right now and secure your spot. And you're probably thinking that you just find the way and you're just fine and things are okay the way they are right now. You're probably thinking that you're already motivated and don't need extra help to succeed. But the truth is, you never rise to the level of your expectation. You always default to the level of your training. Professional player, they don't hope or they don't based on their motivation or hope to win games. They train. Now you're probably thinking, oh, there's a lot of commitment. I don't have much time to train. Well, guess what? Not even 15 a day, not even 15 minutes a day is fine. The truth is it takes practice to be perfect, but perfect practice is not necessary. Just practice enough and you'll be better than 95% of the rest. One little thing you implement can help you sell a boat. Now you're probably thinking, well, I'll do it next month, I'll do it next time, or next sale, or less busy, or this or that. Well, again, if you take forever and procrastinate making decisions, chances are you will attract clients that will always be indecisive. And if you don't invest in yourself, chances are others will not invest in you. So to recap, for those of you who get started today, you get the Yacht Sales Academy Sales Masterclass, Dialogue Communication, How to Get More Listing Program, the Follow-Up Blueprint, Boat Sales Negotiation Method, the Woodpecker Sales Hack for total value of $9,985. I will also add the 30 secrets to boat sales at a value of $500. And for the first 3 people, we'll go 90-minute one-on-one together. Well, I'll set you up the entire lead generation machine. Okay? Now, there are 2 types of people in business. The one that save money, and people who are in the business of saving money and people who are in the business of making money. Now, my question is, do you want to save $397 this month, or you want to make 5K, 10K, 100K, 200K? Even if you're still thinking about the price, you have to admit that this is exactly what you need to sell more boats today. And it's not how much it costs, it's how much it will cost you not to take it. So here is a countdown. We're going to leave the page valid for 30 minutes. If you need to talk to someone, go get a credit card. If you're driving, you want to go credit card or something. If you're still on the fence now, it's time to open a new browser. Go to start.yachtsalesacademy.com/go and get started. Remember, there is no risk, and we have 110% money back guarantee. The only way for you to know if it's the right thing is to get started right now. Now, what questions do you have? I know we are already at 90 minutes, which is the time we allocated. I'll be happy to help you with questions if you have questions. So let me know. You can send me private question or you can send me direct question in the chat. So how long is the content? Okay, so it's not about how long it takes to do the course. It's how long are you going to allocate and put in your training. But to respond to your questions, around 20 hours of content overall. So it's a very substantial training. Yes, so what's going to happen next is once you are in, we'll send you, my team will send you all the login detail and we'll let you know exactly how it works. You will get the all the logins information and everything. So you'll access your own portal and you can view at your own time or pace. So remember, guys, it's a business expense and there is 2 guarantees. So I want to thank you guys for this time today. It was another pleasure to do this webinar for you. I see we have some people that already signed up to the masterclass. So I'm always excited to see some new students. I want to thank you again for your investment. Thank you so much for spending the time to invest in yourself today. I look forward to hearing back from you. Keep following our newsletter or our group. Feel free to reach out anytime. I'm going to turn, I know some people want to ask me some personal questions, so I'm going to turn on my mobile phone in the next 30 minutes. Feel free to give me a call if you have another question you want to ask me. Thanks again, everyone. It was a real pleasure. I'll leave that page on for another 25 minutes, and I wish you an amazing day, and I look forward for seeing you on the other side also in the Sales Masterclass. Thanks again, everyone. Bye.